Greetings all, Hairy Nick here. How's everyone out there going? We have some more X-Wing news to talk about today. In actual fact, we have a lot of new X-Wing news to talk about today because AMG just dumped a whole heap of stuff on us during their mini extravaganza thingamajig Twitch stream collection of videos they're doing. Really cool. A lot of new information about this game, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and Legion as well. It looks like in the stream they did about 12 hours ago at the time of recording this video, that they revealed everything new they want to talk about with X-Wing. There may be something else revealed over the next couple of days. What I'm going to do with all of this, because there is so much, and I'm a little bit time poor today and tomorrow, I'm going to do this bit by bit and sort of go through this product by product and talk about all the various new stuff. Today we're going to have a look at the next pilot upgrade pack, what they've sort of deemed Hot Shots and Aces Part 2. It's actually the third one of these that's been made, because we also have the Pride of Mandalore, but nevertheless, really good to see that we're sort of getting these in some kind of regularity. If you're a newer player and you're unaware of what these are packs that have no physical ships in them. They do have new pilots, and probably most relevant, they actually have a lot of generic upgrade cards that you can use on various factions that may have not been released in every single faction. So you get some important upgrade cards without having to buy a ship out of your faction, which is awesome. I think just overall, in terms of providing players, specifically new players, with these kind of cards, this is one of the best ways, at least one of the most consumer-friendly ways we can do this kind of stuff. Look, I'd love a universe where we could get all the good, relevant, generic cards for free, but at the same time, I understand, business got a business, and this is a good compromise, in my opinion. So, first up, we have the cover art for the box, or at least what we think is the cover art. They sort of revealed this when they started talking about the box. And interesting about this picture right here, it looks like a picture for Poe Dameron in the Millennium Falcon, the scavenged YT 1300. However, that was already revealed with different art on it, so we don't know what this is. Generally, the box art for these packs ends up being the pilot art for one of the cards in the pack. I suppose theoretically it could be an updated version of the Millennium Falcon. That's a possibility as well. In terms of the pilots we've seen use this ship in the films, the only other one I can think of is Lando, and this art seems to be depicting the opening scene where they're hyperspace skipping away from the First Order, and Lando was not a part of that scene, so I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's a Finn pilot. Ooh, that could be a bit of fun. We've already got a Chewbacca and Han and all that kind of stuff, so yeah, who knows. Always fun to speculate, but while we're having a chat about this, let's actually talk about the Poe Dameron card. Initiative 6, a difficult man. Yes, we have a second Initiative 6 Falcon on the Resistance. Yes, you can fly Poe alongside Han in Extended. I don't think that's going to be a very good list, but hey, knock yourself out. You can do it now. Before you execute a maneuver, you may spend 1 charge. If you do, ignore obstacles during this maneuver. Awesome. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may spend 2 charges to perform a white boost or a red barrel roll action. Then, if you performed a red barrel roll action, expose 1 damaged card if able. This is awesome. So, essentially, it's got 2 recurring charges, which means you can basically always use that first ability, but it means if you're doing that constantly, you can't use the second ability. Obviously, the most flashy thing you can do with this is 2 power rolls in the Falcon, which is kind of cool. It means you've got to expose damage cards, but if Poe's not being targeted, then it's free real estate. Nice. This is obviously very, very cool and fun. I don't know if it's necessarily the most bonkers powerful thing you can do. It does offer a little bit of action economy, in that Poe can just use boosts and then take a regular action. You're not double stacking tokens or anything like that. Needless to say, I don't think we're going to end up in a world ever where we're going to have like tie Inceptor level of abilities on the Falcon. But on this large base ship with, lots of dice, and there's lots of cool things this ship can do, especially with like the title and Ray and all these kinds of upgrade cards. This is a very, very, very potent ship. I don't know how to evaluate this from a power level point of view. I think it's, It's going to have a lot of upgrade points. Where it lands points-wise is, remains to be seen. Han is actually the cheapest pilot so far, because despite having a really cool ability, Han hasn't really worked out in terms of meta play. The most expensive pilot being, of course, Rey. So it's really hard for me to call where this is going to land. I think this is probably more closer to Rey in terms of the spectrum of power. And of course, it depends on the upgrade cards we're going to put on it. But at the same time, it's Poe Dameron. Of course, we're going to have all the upgrade cards. It kind of suck if we couldn't get like Finn or Rey or Chewie and all that kind of cool stuff and a missile, and yeah, it's going to be fun. I don't know if it's good, but it's definitely going to be a lot of fun, and I dig that. Let's move over to my beloved Scum faction, because we have a new Fang fighter pilot. And although I think it's kind of weird that we have yet another Fang fighter pilot, the Fang fighter is one of those ships where I go, whatever, it's evergreen. It's like the X-Wing, the Y-Wing, or the TIE fighter. Let's just give it pilots every now and then. It can have 20, 30 pilots. Who cares? It's awesome. This is Tor fun. Initiative 3. After you perform an attack, if the defender was destroyed, you may perform an action, even while stressed. Then you may gain 2 strain tokens to perform a bonus attack. So obviously on this, the ceiling is super, super high. You can focus, attack with a focus token, destroy a ship, target lock, attack another ship, or exchange the target lock and focus in that scenario. This is incredibly vicious, and it plays a lot like a Scum ship because it's a fairly massive trade-off, and it's Magical Christmas Land-esque. Obviously destroying ships is what, little dodgy ships like the Fang Fighter wants to do in the first place, and, if you're flying alongside a couple of other Fang Fighters, that's okay. It just means you generally attack with this one last, so it has a higher odds of destroying a ship and getting off a second attack. And if you manage to get this ability to trigger, I'd say even just on an average of once a game in a tournament, it's probably going to get its value out of it, which is awesome. What really interests me is the fact that this should function fairly well at different squad point costs. Whether or not it can take really powerful missiles or torpedoes, or it just doesn't get access to them at all. I think there's justification to have this at like 4 points, or maybe 5 or 6 points if we give it heavier builds. It seems like it's going to scale quite nicely. The one annoyance I have with this is it's Initiative 3, and there's no other Fang Fighters at Initiative 3, so you can't match this alongside other Fang Fighters and then, go, oh, okay, well, I'll attack with this one first. You are forced to attack with this in a certain sequence. So what I'm trying to describe here is a scenario where, like, say you have 3 Fang Fighters at Initiative 3. They're all pointed at the same target, and you time it perfectly. You choose this one to engage when you think it's going to destroy the target. You just don't have that kind of agency. Maybe that was an intentional move by AMG. Maybe it was just too powerful in playtesting if it was Initiative 4. I can certainly understand that. As I said, that obviously offers the card a lot of agency, but regardless, you can still, fly alongside other Initiative 3s in the Scum faction. Seems really, really good. I'm very keen to see what kind of ordnance it could take, or even if it can't, I'm pretty happy to see this go as is, maybe with nothing on it. It seems pretty decent, even with no cards on it at all. Okay, lastly, in the FO Bomber, we've got Jul Jajerod. Jul Jajerod, that's a lot of J's. Initiative 4, after you perform a boost action, you may spend 1 charge to remove 1 non-lock red or orange token. This is very, very interesting. This is a very versatile pilot. Now, it doesn't really seem to relate that heavily into what the FO Bomber wants to be doing in general. But the fact that it can just work off the back of its own red boost during the activation phase, or it can just remove a red token off itself during the system phase where it used pursuit thrusters, both of those seems very, very relevant, and I really like having that kind of flexibility. All of the FO bombers so far in their current loadouts have some combination of ordnance, whether it be missiles, torpedoes, and or some kind of bomb. So all of that's quite relevant. Obviously, the bomb's quite nice when you can do a boost afterwards or beforehand or whatever. Seems really, really powerful. There's not a lot to say about this, other than I just really like the design. And like the Fang Fighter we just looked at, I think it's going to scale quite cleanly. I don't know. I just really like this design. It's not overly complex. It plays nicely. And I think if you're a newer player, looking at these last two cards, these are really fun game pieces to just experiment with, because you can sort of learn how sort of risk and reward works with the Fang Fighter. With Jewel to Jared, you can also learn how flexibility works and kind of lean into sort of learning how aces work, which is very relevant if you fly the First Order. Really keen to see what they do with the rest of the pilots in this pack, if this is indicative of the kind of design they're going for. Very happy with this indeed. We're getting 5 pilots for every single faction, which is really, really cool. As I said, I already suspect there's one more Falcon pilot in there. But as always, great to see this kind of stuff. I think the pilot card pack is a very important thing to help sort of balance the game, make it more equitable, make sure that we all, as players, get access to all the upgrade cards and that kind of stuff. And good to see that AMG is very much embracing it as they move forward. They did briefly talk about in the Twitch stream about sort of their long-term plan. There's a 5-year plan apparently, which sounds very, very interesting. And they've shown some more of, the stuff that they've specifically brought to X-Wing design in like the quick build cards and all that kind of stuff, which we'll discuss in another video. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, like, comment, subscribe. I don't just say it, it really helps the channel. It takes 2 seconds to just click that like button. Let's get it going, folks. Also, we have a Patreon for the channel if you want to help support us monetarily. If you want access to the Patreon Discord, all it takes is $1. And you can come chat with us about all these cool new spoilers. Oh, and on that note, thank you to the patrons on the Discord who actually went ahead and watched this live and actually grabbed all the images which I'm using right now. It's greatly, greatly appreciated that you guys went through all that. I actually scrubbed through the Twitch stream just before, but I actually didn't have a lot of time today to watch the whole thing, so I just focused on this little thing. But getting all that organized really does help me here on the channel. So JJ in particular, if you're watching, thanks man, really appreciate it. With all that said, I'll catch everyone in the next video.